Well, I think he already told somebody who's going to.
I think Joanne.
morning, commissioners? Sheriff?
Sure, tonight we're having a stakeholders meeting at the natatorium, the YMCA natatorium. At 6:30, everybody's invited. It's in regards to the American Rescue Act funds, to discuss those funds. Also, on Thursday and Friday, December the 16th and 17th, we're having a tires for toys. So you can bring your tires and leave a toy for an unwrapped toy for a child. And then, of course, on December the 21st, we're having a blood drive. The Jimbo County Courthouse will be having a blood drive, and we kind of spearhead that.
Very good, Margie.
We're cleaning, we're working at the levee, St. David levee, Judge. I think the Corps of Engineers is gonna come on Wednesday afternoon to inspect it.
Wonderful.
So we're out there cleaning the spillway, levee, creek. So hopefully everything goes well.
Should go well. Good.
Judge, we had our stakeholders meeting here about a week and a half ago or so in Fremont, and we had a great turnout. We had about 50 people. We got a lot of great ideas, a lot of input from the community, and it's working out real good. So on Saturday, I also had
We
ours,
had
so.
ours. We had ours. We had about 23 people, lots of great ideas, and can't wait to meet again. We had fun, actually.
They've been very good
interesting.
meetings. I was able to attend,
stuff.
I was
Yeah.
able
You
to
were there,
attend
Judge?
most of them. Commissioner Garcia was also
Yeah,
his
yeah, we
meeting.
had it together, me and the
Together.
judge, and everything, we had good ideas. I think we're gonna have another meeting, and then we're gonna open it up to the public. That's pretty much what we decided.
So next Monday on the 20th, we'll be having another one at Tecolote, in the building at Tecolote.
Got some good ideas coming up. A lot of these priorities, I think most people are on the same page as to what our priorities. would be.
Everybody's first question is, can we use it on the roads?
I know it.
And we can't, not this
Not this wave of
funding,
money, but the other
hopefully
funding
the
maybe.
infrastructure funding we can use on the road.
Okay. Any other announcements? Sheriff? I see the sheriff.
Yes, good morning, Judge. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Morning,
Just want to inform you, we have 55 inmates, 7 females. And in regards to the murder from last weekend, we're expecting to make 3 arrests today or early tomorrow morning. We received $145,000 on a drug interdiction case on Friday, and we received $80,000 from the Clayburgh County on another joint traffic stop. Our programs are working very well as we speak. One of the interests that we have on, we want to thank you very much, first of all, for recognizing Lieutenant Ray Aguilar at the luncheon safety meeting that we had. We've hired one more dispatcher that we were had a spot available. We have one more jailer. We had a spot available, and we've hired 2 more police or 2 more deputies for the Patrol and Traffic Division. So we'll be ready for the New Year's, and also we are applying, of course, and it would be one of the agenda items in just a little bit for the Lone Star Grant, and Mr. Guerra will probably introduce that to you all for a resolution, but the paperwork has been sent. I have a meeting in Laredo with the sheriff and the second in command for the governor on this Lone Star Grant on Thursday morning. So that's what we have going right now. Of course, you all have been invited to participate with us on Friday at our meeting, training, luncheon, and also a farewell for the lieutenant that is leaving our department. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Gracias.
We have one from the public to speak. Kimberly?
Ms. Kimberly, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberly, and I'm here on behalf of Digital Doctor. Digital Doctor is a medical clinic where we offer medical services for the community in Fremont. Our current location is in Fremont, and thanks to Mr. Huicho Gonzalez, who we met last week, we have been able to promote our services to the county, but we want to expanded more. We were thinking of opening up 2 more locations, and what we provide are primary care services for all kind of families. So basically, we offer all insurances, and our visits are $30 if you don't have any insurance. So basically what we're trying to promote is healthcare in communities that are rural, whether it be primary care, diabetic care, as well as homebound visits for those who are bedbound, unfortunately. So what we are trying to do is expand healthcare for the rural areas. I do have some flyers that I want to pass out, but I'll wait. I can take them. So basically what we're trying to do is promote healthcare within rural areas.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
That's a wonderful service. Thank you.
So as you can see in the flyers, we do have all kinds of services. We try to be accessible with our schedules. So we are open from Monday to Saturday from 3 to 9. So that way, if there is any emergencies within the evenings after the kids are out of school, or I know parents mostly would be working during the early mornings, what we're trying to do is allow them to have their health care within the Fremont community rather than having to come 30 minutes to Alice, whether it be an emergency or Falfurrias, or in some cases all the way to DHR. So we are also associated with DHR, which is something beneficial for the patients, because that way, if their charts are based out of DHR, we can have access to them. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you. We can respond.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Anyone else that'd like to make a presentation or other announcements? Okay. Agenda item number 4, discuss, consider, and take action on previous minutes from previous meeting.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 5, discuss and
Judge,
consider. action.
Judge,
Yes,
Judge,
sir.
on the minutes from last month's meeting, we need to get a copy of that and attach it to panel number 114. And I believe it's 109, because that, remember, we did the extension on County Road, I think it was 438. So we need to amend the map with those minutes. So JC, if you can hear me, we just need to make some maybe clip it on there or something, so that when somebody's looking at that map in the future, they know that the extension, that the road now extends all the way to Miss McClellan's gate.
Yeah, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and get that done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Agenda item number 5, discuss, consider, take action on the offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 1612-16854B, Orange Grove Independent School District, Jim Wells County, and Brush County Groundwater Conservation District versus Maricela G. Montalvo, account number 1195405900000, 1.65 acres, more or less out of lot 26. Block 2, Lake Meadows Estate, in addition in Jim Wells County, Texas. We have an offer, $10,800 for the purchase from Fox Real Estate and Investments, LLC, Orange Grove, Texas, for $10,800.
Nobody's had anything to say, Judge. Make a motion to approve item as presented.
Okay,
I'll
I
second.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. What was the offer, Judge?
$10,800. Okay, all those for this agenda item? Say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. All righty. Discuss and consider and take action on budget amendment request by Albert Ramirez, Adult Probation Department, to transfer funds in the amount of $16,000 from 12,571,499.72 residential treatment to 12,571,575 furniture and fixtures, and $15,000 from 12,571,405.60 adult probation monitoring to 12,571,573 equipment.
Judge, Commissioners Court, I looked over the request and it's proper request. Everything is good with it.
Thank you, Noe.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 7, discuss, consider, and approve budget amendment request by County Judge Juan Rodriguez Jr. to transfer funds to and from following accounts: $10,000 from line item 12409-450 repairs and maintenance levy project at 15,000 from line item 12409402 engineering and surveying to line item 12409401 cost of audit, $1,000 from 12409573 equipment to 12409499 miscellaneous, 2,000 from 12409402 engineering and surveying to 12510480 bond premiums, and 1,670 from 12543465 fire department general to 12543413 Benbolt Fire Department.
Judge Commissioners Court, I looked over the request and all of the numbers are good.
Make a motion to accept the item as presented, Judge.
Okay,
I
I have a
second.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 8, discuss, consider, and take action on resolution to allow the Jimbo County Sheriff's Office to apply for and receive grant funding for the upcoming 2021-2022 Operation Lone Star funding on grant 4379601.
I'm not sure if, is anybody still on from the sheriff's department?
Regarding the Operation Lone Star,
Right,
we had the sheriff on, but I'm not-
Yes.
there we go.
Yes, we are.
okay, Sheriff.
Yeah, this is some funds that were made available through the governor's office. Carlos Garcia and I attended a meeting in San Antonio about a month ago, and they outlined the procedures for the assistance. The sheriff's department is actively seeking some funding through this for equipment. They asked me for a letter of support. I provided that to them last week. And I think everything's a go. I'm just not sure what the final amount is, Sheriff, that the department will be asking for.
It's going to be over $100,000. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a meeting on Thursday in Laredo with the Sheriff's Coalition, as well as one of the representatives from the governor's office.
Excellent. All right. Commissioners,
To approve.
I'll
I have a motion and a second to approve this action item. All those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed? Motion passes. I'm gonna read this, I guess it's the, that's all we need to add to that. There's a resolution. Do we need to read that, Mr. Guerra?
If it's optional, Judge, you don't have to. I'm not sure we're gonna, how competitive these are gonna be, but we're hopeful. We're hopeful that we can get some funding. We are a third tier county. We're not a border county and we're not a checkpoint county, but we're right next to both to one of those. Both Duval, Jim Hogg, and Brooks all have checkpoints. So we're hopeful that they will fund us on this.
Okay. Yeah, we do have to sign this resolution and submit it. Right,
This is
correct?
also in line, you may recall back in June, we passed the border security resolution and submitted that to the Texas Department of Emergency Management. That made us eligible for this. And now the Sheriff's Department has finished the application and they've got the letter of support from myself. They may, I think the district attorney as well. Some of the cases will be felonies, some will be misdemeanors. So.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read that resolution. Where the Jimbo County Commissioners Court finds it in the best interest of citizens of Jimbo County, the Operation Lone Star be operated for the year 2021, 2022, and whereas Jimbo County Commissioners Court agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required by the Operation Lone Star grant application. And whereas the Jimbo County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of the Governor funds, Jimbo County assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. Whereas the Jimbo County Commissioners Court designated Jimbo County judge as the grantee's authorized official, the authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore be resolved that Jimbo County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for 2021 and 2022 Operation Lone Star Grant Office of the Governor. Okay. Agenda item number 9, discuss, consider, and take action to allow Lieutenant Ray Aguilar to purchase his duty weapon that he wore during his time at Jimbo County Sheriff's Office in accordance with the government code 614052 and government code 0614053. Commissioners Court may set any price as long as it is an amount less than the fair market value. The weapon is a 9mm Glock handgun, serial number BDBC998.
Did we vote on number 8?
Do we have any suggested
long as it's less than the value though.
Judge, the last time we did this was, and actually this is under, because Mr. Aguilar is an honorably discharged peace officer, it would be under 614.051. And the last time we had a family apply under 614.052, and that is a separate section that allows the surviving family members of a peace officer to purchase a weapon. In that case, it was the Deputy Aubrey Harper, and the Commissioner's Court set the price at $10. And I would recommend we do the same for Mr. Aguilar.
Okay,
Make a motion to accept the $10 charge for the pistol as presented, Judge.
I
Okay.
second.
and I have a second. All those in favor say aye,
All right.
Aye.
and all those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Agenda item number 10, discuss, consider, and take action on Jimbo County Sheriff's Office and Jail Site Assessment Proposal by Brinkley Sergeant Wingleton Architects.
Judge, we have Mr. Flint Britton with the architecture firm, and he and Mr. Goodman are both on, and they will explain their proposal for the court's consideration.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Judge, County Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Charlie, you want to take it away?
Oh, sure. Judge and Commissioners, thank you for your time this morning to review this proposal that we've presented to y'all. This is an exciting project for us, to be able to evaluate a site or two for you and then develop a program for a possible new sheriff's office and jail. But obviously the first step is to find a site that is would be acceptable to fit a jail, and then with proper expansion capabilities, the site choreography to maneuver around the site. So that would be our first impetus of the study. And as you can see through the what we have proposed, we do recommend that whatever sites that you are looking at, that you would consult with a geotechnical firm and get a couple holes punched, as they say, to determine the actual site characteristics of the site, to make sure that we're not, of course, invariably, if you do one or two soil borings, you do one here and then right over here is where the junk is. But, in general, we can try to get, a good idea of what the site is. So that would be one of the things that we would like to see from you. And we have a schedule that was presented in there. It'd be a relatively busy couple of days with the sheriff's office to go over the needs that you have now and into the future, and to develop that program. And then once we do that meeting with the sheriff's office, then we will be able to come up with some sizing to determine how big this building might be now and into the future. And then we can assess the sites that you want for us to review. And so in a nutshell, that's what we're proposing. The compensation for this would be for architectural services only. We don't have any engineers engaged in this, civil or otherwise. $44,500 plus $5,000 reimbursable expenses. And one of the things that we do with these studies is that we do it as a not to exceed, and we would bill it on an hourly basis. So if we don't consume all the hours, then we don't bill you for all the hours. So it's a not to exceed, and it's based on an hourly rate. And I believe that we did provide those hourly rates to you all. So that's in a nutshell. Is if you've got any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, and I would just add, just really quickly, at the end of the study, you'll basically have a facility that sits on the site that it will accommodate, and it will be a facility that's going to last for the next 20 years. So it's the idea that we're going to build it large enough so you'll be good for another 20 years and don't have to revisit this issue. And the other aspect of that is you'll have a schedule. And that schedule, if you decide that you're going to go out for a bond election, then we would actually place that into the schedule. So you have an idea of when everything's got to get to the AGs for approval. And so you know exactly what the schedule is, what the timeline that you have. And then also you've got the budget, and you'll also know when the facility should be finished, where you can actually move into it. So that's really what you'll have at the end of the study.
All right. Commissioners, you have any questions? No. Is the sheriff still on? No?
Commissioners Court, on the initial cost, who's gonna pay for it? Are we looking toward some of the monies that are coming in? 44,000 for just getting going,
Just a study, right?
yeah, but he mentioned 44,000. Is that coming, where does that money come out of? Or are we looking to next year? Or for the funds that we've received lately that, like Ms. Moran would look forward to see if we could pay for?
Right. See what funds would be eligible. I know there's gonna be some funds are eligible for jail expansion and stuff. We have to look at that carefully. And yeah, that's the fee for the compensation of it. So we would have to check with Ms. Moran and see which funding source.
Wonder if,
Start right away.
And
What will be the schedule for them?
if we approve this, you know,
Sheriff, is this like to be immediately or for next year's budget?
I don't know who he's on.
for next year's budget.
It would have to be next year.
I would say.
They're gonna get anything done right
You
now.
know, we can always amend the budget next year, and, you know, for, you know, it's too late in the year already.
Yeah, the budget's already set.
You know,
There's nothing,
you know,
we
when,
didn't
you
know
know,
about this.
this is to
Why don't
approve
we
the
table
site
it and
also,
bring it in
Judge.
next year?
You're right.
And
It's
so
to pick a
when-
site.
When they're talking about sites, it needs to be done in open court.
Right.
So, we can know, and the public can know
Right.
what we're doing.
Sure.
So, that's the only thing that I would,
It does mention right here, have the county judge-led precinct meetings to present and explain the project development ahead of a bond election, if we're going through a bond election. Yeah, there's other ways and means and without
Why don't
tapping
we
into
bring it
our
back
budget.
in next year?
What's that?
Why don't we bring it back next year?
Oh, yeah, it can be brought back next year,
Let them bring it back.
but if funds are made available
I mean,
this
we
year.
could go ahead and approve having an assessment started. I'm sure it's not gonna start today or tomorrow.
The only thing I'm saying, I don't know too much about where we're at with this, but yeah, we could wait till next year, but there might be other funding available that's outside of the budget from the state, from the governor's office, or other places, so
And the
we don't
American
wanna
Rescue
say,
Act-
if we do get it available from the state or from some other source, we don't wanna say that we have to wait if that becomes available anytime
But
soon.
I know through the American Rescue Act, because it's COVID, that you need to
Yeah.
expand.
All
And you
probability
can
is it
because
will
if
be
there were
covered, but, you know,
COVID-related
we
cases,
cannot say
Yes, yes.
for sure.
Yeah. So, should we just table this item?
I would
Well, I
table
made a motion to
I think
to approve it.
we don't,
We have a motion on the
we
floor.
can, yeah, we're discussion.
Excuse me. I make a motion to approve and to move. It's not gonna happen right away.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we make the motion, but then we can,
Yes.
that takes us to discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
The discussion would be that the funding is not available as of today. And but it would probably, if we go through it, it would probably be available in 2022. The source is undetermined.
correct.
We are.
Well, what if there is some money available? And I don't know, nobody from the, I'm not sure if anybody from the sheriff's office is still on. There may be some money available now out of this year's budget, instead of having to wait till after January 1st and then take away from next year's budget. But Sheriff, do you know where this would be paid out of?
No, because this is the first time we do something like this, so I wouldn't know what monies would be allocated for that. I would have to
Maybe-
probably sit
well-
down with Noe and Cindy on it and go from there.
Okay, well then maybe we should table it till the next meeting of the month and.
Because I don't think we can use drug forfeiture fund, and you know about that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I would love to, because we do have a substantial amount, but I don't think we can do it.
Flint, do you know of any other counties have tapped into their forfeiture fund to pay for this study? This type of study?
I don't, but I'm sure that they could if they needed to. The thing that I would say too is if you approved it today or you approve it next year, the first thing that we would actually do is we would ask the county to provide us with a letter, an NTP, notice to proceed letter. Once we receive that letter, we've got an actual NTP document that we would fill out and send back to the county. But in the meanwhile, we would actually send a questionnaire to the sheriff's office. And that questionnaire they would take that and take it to the different departments so they could begin to answer the questions on the questionnaire. Once that questionnaire is finished, that would be our first meeting to actually sit down with the sheriff's office and start going through that information and start putting together programming. So I say all that to say this. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, that all takes a good while, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're hitting the holiday. It would take probably a good 2 weeks for the sheriff's office to even go through all that questionnaire and information because they'll want to be able to discuss it, talk about it before they even kicked it back to us. So whether you approved it today or approved it next month, it's just really just a matter of time. But other than that, we could get started on the questionnaire if you approved it today.
Do you want to approve it then and then come back and we'll specify which account it gets paid out of, commissioners? Would that be a kind of a compromise?
You want to amend your request and just table it?
I like the table.
Okay.
So I sent.
Rescind the motion and.
Okay,
table it.
motion's rescinded on this agenda item. Do we have a motion to table this agenda item?
I'd like to make a motion to table this item, Judge.
Okay,
Second.
then we'll go ahead and do that. Motion to table in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, motion passes. So that'll give us some time to ask those questions and source.
Well, the main question is the source of the payment, and then is there anything else that you want them to come back to you with at the next whenever the next presentation is? Somebody had mentioned location. Ventura?
Whenever we discuss locations, Michael, I would like for it to be in open court.
Yes, sir.
I'll be at the same page. So that was my only concern.
Okay. Anything else? So we just I guess the sheriff.
Need to do drug forfeiture, Mike?
I think it would. I mean, it's certainly law enforcement related, where you're going to house your inmates. But we can get a definite answer from somebody on that. Flint, you said that other counties have used this to pay for the study?
I don't know of it, but I'll call the jail commission and just ask them and find out.
Okay. So we can get the answers to all that and then come back to the court at some point, either later this month or next month after the new year.
Thank you.
Very good.
Judge, commissioners, thank you for allowing us to be on the agenda, and Merry Christmas.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas, and thank you all for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Agenda item number 11, discuss and consider approving 2022 holiday schedule for Jimbo County. I'll go over this schedule. It's just pretty much.
I've reviewed it, Judge, and I don't see any corrections.
I make a motion to approve.
Did they add the Juneteenth? I think it was going to fall on a Sunday. So are we taking Monday?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it's got.
Supposed to be celebrated Monday.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you, JC. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? This motion passes. The new 2022 county holidays. Okay. Agenda item number 12, discuss, consider, and take action to rescind the Jimbo County telework policy. Commissioners, anybody want to speak on this agenda item?
Your Honor, whenever it's time for.
Yes, you may.
department heads, I'd like to just add some information and just for consideration before the vote.
You got it.
In this you know, I know that this subject matter is something that we've all been dealing with, at least in the judicial system here in Jim Wells. Right now, my office is one of the offices that is using the telework policy significantly. One of the reasons we've been doing it is because the way our office is set up, our fear is if we end up having to quarantine at a certain point. Now, luckily, the quarantine timelines have gotten a lot better than we started with, but they're still in place. And right now, without the telework policy, the fear is we all have to quarantine. They can't work from home, so they're all going to be on leave. And if we have court coming up, we've got inmates that have been waiting for their day in court who are maybe entitled to some relief, that all of a sudden it's the state's fault that they're not having their day in court because the state didn't take any action to try to prevent something like that from happening. The other thing that we're dealing with in the judicial system is our local courts are generally going based on, well, what are the emergency orders from the Supreme Court saying to do? And many times we're kind of just catching up with them because, for example, this last Supreme Court's emergency order, number 45, the one before it was number 43. 43 was supposed to expire at the beginning of December. They came out with 44, and it only addressed certain types of cases. So everybody here locally, at least in my office and in the offices that I deal with, we're thinking it's not going to happen. It's finally going to be where we're going to be going back to normal. Well, then on November 23rd, number 45 comes in and it extends it all
Saw that.
until February.
From the governor's office?
Well, this is from the Supreme Court. So it ties into the governor's office. I mean, the beginning of these Supreme Court orders always refers to the emergency order of the governor has extended these powers to them. And so then they, in turn, use their powers to basically provide these rules that our local courts have to deal with.
I saw that was extended through the end of December, correct, or something like that? Or
The other one had been through the end or beginning of December. This one actually goes all the way through February 1st of 2022. So we're always kind of stuck waiting to see what's going to happen. I mean, so it's not even our own department that can, we follow what the court systems deal with. Our local courts basically deal with what the state, but also locally what we can and can't do. I mean, bigger jurisdictions have many different courtrooms. They have big, large, jury rooms where they can bring in large panels. None of our courts in our rural areas are set up for that. And unfortunately, we don't have anything close by where we could utilize, right next door is a convention center. We could do certain things there and then just walk them over. Our court isn't set up that way. So the safety protocols that our court deals with kind of follows what they're allowed to deal with and then what our local resources are. So that was some of the things that I wanted to present for consideration. One of the things that I had talked to with some others was, maybe not a blanket, but maybe if it's going to be rescinded, if there could be an extension just for the judicial system based on the things that are outside of our control.
Mr. Garcia, correct me if I'm wrong, even if we rescind whatever, you're still going to follow Supreme Court judicial rules and orders, which we're going to comply with.
Yes, but that's where I say that's my fear. I will comply with what the Commissioner's Court rules. So if the Commissioner's Court says we all come back, we'll all come back. If the Commissioner's Court says there is no telework policy, I will follow what Commissioner's Court deems appropriate for the county. But my fear is I wanted these concerns to be brought up so that, let's say, in January, my office ends up having to quarantine, but because there's no telework policy, they're all on leave. We end up having to prepare a whole bunch of motions for continuance to tell the court nobody's available because we can't telework, and because they're required to be on leave until they get their results. They're on leave, so I can't make them come in either. So we're basically stuck when there was maybe another way that even if they were coming in all the time, if something like that were to trigger us to allow them to work telework, because we've had to do it with other individuals when, let's say, they're out on workman's comp and then they get their letter of release and they're allowed to work with certain, restrictions, or they're allowed to. Well, we've generally done it on a case by case basis when we're dealing with, medical reasons for allowing for an accommodation. And I'm just wanting to, at least, if nothing else, have our telework policy available for a situation like that, where it's not where, well, it happened today. We'd have no way of using it without me coming back to Commissioner's Court. The next meeting might be so far out that it's already too late. The damage has already been done to the dockets that were already set and the individuals that already had their day in court set. So those are just some of the concerns that my department has and that I have that I wanted to bring up before you all decided.
So if you say you had a situation and y'all had to quarantine, couldn't you telework while you're in quarantine?
We could, if you all allow us. And that's my fear. When I see that it's just going to be rescinded, it's like, okay, does that mean rescind? Because that's the way when we didn't have it for that period of time that we didn't have it, that's the way it was taken by my office, that we weren't allowed to utilize it at all. And that was a fear, because my office there's been several departments that have in fact had to close down completely. The county attorney's office at one point in time had to do that. We luckily didn't have to quarantine. Well, he has protective orders, victims that are coming in, pretty close to the time when they have had their situation come up that may entitle them to get the protection of a protective order. Well, we were able to stay open. We would meet with whoever came in, do what we needed to do for the county attorney's office. We'd scan it in. They'd get to deal with it, and they were still working on the cases. They were still working from where they were at until their quarantine passed. But in the meantime, my office wasn't in quarantine, so we were able to have those face-to-face visits with those victims that were coming in. So there is a situation that does pop up. Now, my office, we are visiting with people in person. We're very careful because a lot of times we're visiting with law enforcement agency representatives, troopers, and we know they have a lot of contact with people. Well, a bigger department, like let's say DPS, for example, if they have a situation where their trooper has to quarantine, they've got a lot of other troopers they can get on the road. With our type of work, we're all in one office. We're kind of closed together where we can't really socially distance within our offices either. And we're there for, let's say, 8 hours a day. If one person ends up having the situation where they do have to quarantine, I am going to have a group, maybe even up to the whole office, that would have to do that. So those are just some of the concerns I wanted to bring up before the commissioners make a decision on this matter. Our difficulty, like I said, is there's a lot of moving parts. When we're dealing with my office, we prepare for our cases from our side, but the district judge and his staff are also putting a lot into preparing these dockets and getting them ready. The probation department, the sheriff's department, getting everybody available who's an inmate. And then these individuals that, it is their day in court. They have their constitutional rights that if they're entitled to get some kind of relief, and they were likely going to get that relief, let's say on Thursday, because that was their day in court. But then on Wednesday, the DA's office is having to say, okay, we're not going to be able to do anything on Thursday. And, it's just very difficult. That's the worst case scenario. Now, there are things that I think we could do. For example, if it was just made available where, you know what, DA, if you want to do that, you know what, we want you some transparency. We want you to bring what your plan is and present it to us, and let's see if we'll approve that plan. And that way, if something bad happens, the plan was already in place, and not where something bad happened. The rule right now is I can't do it. I can't utilize the telework policy without coming back to ask for it. By the time I do come and ask for it, well, the situation is gone. Let's see what happens the next time. And so those are just my concerns that I wanted to bring up.
And thank you for pointing out those concerns, because I know it gets technical when there's quarantine or people out and they have to telework, and then it all comes down to their compensation and our rules and payment
Yes.
those hours. So I guess we can consider that. Commissioners, do y'all have any
Well,
comments?
I can see where the judicial system, will, has to continue the way you're explaining it. I think the rest of the court and the county should, and you come up with a plan that will take us to where we need to be. Maybe, bring something by next meeting. But I do think that it's very important that the docket keeps going. You cannot stop the docket and telework, helps you. I think that's where we need to be. But I don't think all of the county needs to be in telework. Let's put it that way.
No, and I do agree with that. There's a lot of jobs that, for example, in my own office, I have investigators. There's a lot of things that they do that cannot be done by telework. So they don't do that section of their work by telework because they can't do it. If they have to go and serve somebody with a subpoena, they have to go out, find them, and serve them with a subpoena.
I think about 90% of the county is probably back to normal, except for the judicial system. I would think,
Yes, and I think even within like I said, there's certain aspects that can only be done in person, and those things we are doing in person. We're doing it on those days, wait until get everything done when that person is not teleworking. But there is some things that actually helps. One of the other things, when we didn't have the telework in place and we all had to be on, all the attorneys were on Zoom court, and most of my staff was watching YouTube, because as the judge would change something, they may have to change orders, so they're keeping up with it. We did have some technical issues that kept popping up, and we kind of figured it was because so many people utilizing the same bandwidth, from the county at the same time. And it's one thing to be, just looking things up. It's another thing to be dealing with something that's requiring audio and video, takes up a lot of bandwidth. So we would have issues where, my prosecutors were like, keep getting kicked off. I need to log back in. And, it's worrisome because the court is still going, and they might not realize that we can't hear what you're saying. I got cut off. I'm frozen, or you all are frozen from my side of it. So when we were able to come back to the telework, and not everybody was in the same place at the same time, and they were using their own bandwidth at home or at their own private offices, it seemed like that kind of fixed that little issue. So there are some other issues too. However, if nothing else, that'll just be us getting with Robert and telling Robert, look, we're still having these issues, what needs to be done? And then coming back and saying, this is what they're saying we need, more, a better server, better whatever it is that might be necessary if we get to that point again.
Okay.
So are your employees, are they vaxxed? Did they get the vaccine?
I'd say about 2/3 are
The
vaccinated.
boosters?
About 2/3. The same ones that got vaccinated seemed to have done it from both of the initials when they had the initial, or if they did the single Johnson & Johnson now.
They all wear masks?
They generally will wear masks if they're basically in close proximity. When we are able to bring them in separately, they do have enough space where they can work at their site without having to wear a mask.
Okay, so they social distance, and is there room to social
If they're
distance?
all back together, there is not room.
Okay, and so, I just got a question, like, when we had our luncheon, I was, watching to see, and I mean, to me, myself, what I saw, videoed, whatever, is like, I'd probably say 97% of the maybe 200 people that were there, I don't know how many was there, weren't wearing masks. And we're sitting this close, eating. And probably the ones that did have masks, took their mask off to eat, and we're sitting this close. And I mean, 2 years ago, this big COVID, and now it's settled down. Government wants us to think this is the new normal, stay at home, don't go out and stuff. I mean, to me, I would think that our forefathers, when they had these diseases or, plagues that came out or whatever, if they had to get something done, they made it happen, one way or the other. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there?
No, I agree, and we're getting it done. We are getting our cases done, we're getting our dockets done, we're getting the things that are necessary done. Now, as far as the luncheon, I believe I had, out of my staff, I think only one went. We weren't making anybody go, we weren't making anybody stay. And that's the thing, as a department head, we're kind of stuck because there's certain things we can't ask, we can't, we kind of have to make the rules in such a way that the person who feels way on one side about the issue is being covered, as well as the person who kind of feels on the total opposite. So, on the department head side, I'm kind of always kind of trying to deal with that balance. I do it myself. I don't have a problem not wearing a mask and talking to y'all. I generally will wear a mask when I'm walking through the hallways because I'm a public servant, and whoever comes in front of me in the public, I want to meet them at where they're at. If they feel comfortable, I'll take my mask off so that we can see face to face. If they don't feel comfortable, I'll leave my mask on so that I can visit with them because I'm the public servant. I need to serve everybody in the public. Now, we are getting everything done. And if we all have to come back, we're all going to continue to get everything done. My worry is on that worst case scenario where, based on the criteria that whatever's in place, and right now the criteria still involves quarantining, that's where I see the biggest issue happening. And if I don't have the ability to at least telework, where it's like, look, I have to quarantine, but I don't feel sick, I don't this, I don't that. But we weren't working remotely anymore. So you know what? I was like 3 feet away from my coworker for more than the 15 minutes. We're working together for 8 hours during the day, right next to each other. A lot of times we're on the phone. So yeah, even if I'm wearing the mask, I'm taking it off because it comes out generally muffled. And I have to talk clearly because when my partner right next to me is also on the phone, we're having to basically maneuver a little bit because, that's how we are. It's the same thing when we're having these, court sessions going on. Every attorney gets into their office and they'll shut their door, but the other staff don't have that ability because they don't have any doors. They're basically in cubicles. So when the phone rings for them, they're having to adjust the YouTube. Now that's fine on the YouTube because they're just watching and monitoring. They're not actually participating. The attorneys are a little bit different. They're participating. They're muted until the court calls their case and then they unmute. But the attorneys do have a way where they can adjust to that. The general staff does not, because the way our office is set up, and you're welcome to come one of these days, you can see how the cubicles are set up. They're built into the wall. So without doing some major demolition and reconstruction, there's really not a way to change that in the square footage that we have.
So were you able to take advantage of any of the CARES Act money to extend some of those cubicles with plexiglass or anything?
No, we have not had any. I mean, that's one thing that, we would be interested in. I mean, if we, any of those type of things that are available. I mean, I don't know that we by ourselves, my understanding was there was going to be a committee and we were going to be able to look and see what
I think everybody
could or
just
could not.
expressed their needs and that's how they took care of them, right, Noe?
Yes, then they went through the judge's office, if you need
If you
plexiglass,
wanted
we
to, because
got money where you
from
can
what
pay
I
for it.
see, there's still monies available, right? to
Oh,
do
yeah,
that,
there is available.
Plenty
It's
of
up to
money.
the departments and each,
To reach
how to
out.
structure it and how to, I don't know, everybody's setting the square footages differently, so
I know
everybody's,
the last time we had court, we discussed, you know,
Yeah.
anybody that needed to make their employees safe to take advantage of, that's what that money was for our
Okay,
employees.
well, in that case, that might be something that can be utilized, but some of
so
the,
Ruben Cadena would be the one. He's
okay,
become an
well, he's
expert at
come in
that
and
to go look
we
at.
visited with him before.
Have you
but
talked a little bit about? the-
Yes.
Okay, so you have discussed it.
Yeah, we had discussed
So,
it. and-
okay.
And they have rapid tests now.
Yes, and we have one of our own investigators is trained to do and he does do those. So that's why I was saying, it's gotten better for us because before we were looking at, you know, the 15 days and 10 days. Now, within 3 to 5 days, we can generally, hopefully get everybody back when they're either cleared out or, you know, the ones that do get cleared can at least come back. But, you know, early on, it was a lot worse. It is getting better. I mean, every time as the months go by, we are getting in a better situation and a better position. You know, I think, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, I would likely be saying we need this as opposed to I just want to have it available in case of, because if my people do have to quarantine, they technically can still do their job. So they wouldn't need to be on leave. They could continue to until they got those results back and were cleared. And then if they didn't get cleared, okay, well, then we can address that person's needs and basically find out whether or not they can in fact work as long as they stay quarantined, or did they get ill where, no, that person has to actually be
And
on
that's
leave.
case to case in there.
No, I can't stress enough how important it is to keep the courts open. You know, it affects our grants, it affects so many things, you know, and I believe that, you know, we need to come back. But we also need to have a plan from you for the next meeting.
Okay.
Judge, you know, maybe you can get with them to see what we can do to improve it, because I think 90% of our people are back, except for the judicial system. And it's so important to keep the courts moving. I mean, keep the dockets moving, because it affects so many people in town, you know, with, you know, it affects law enforcement, it affects, you know, I mean, it's not something that we can do today. I think we need to have a plan maybe for the next meeting and where we can make a decision that's, you know, a better decision, to be honest with you.
And things are getting better. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got jury settings coming up in
we do
2022. We've got
need to-
live court
Sorry.
already on a case-by-case basis. We've actually got live court this afternoon at 2:00 in Brook. So things are going in the right direction. I mean, they're getting better. It's not getting worse. No one in the judicial system wants to stay stuck to where we were or where we are. We're wanting to move forward.
I want to,
In my case, I just want to see the docket moving. You know, I mean, if you're on Zoom or whatever, I mean, it concerns me, but it really, as long as you're keeping the docket moving, that's what's important. You know, because, you know, it triggers so many other things, you know, so, but we do need a plan and move towards coming back.
Yes, no, I agree. I'm not saying, didn't come here to say, don't take any action, I wanted you to hear the concerns, and I think there's some things that we could do, at least to leave it available for that, you know, that example that I gave, where the remote would be to keep that docket moving, where even if everybody had to quarantine or a big chunk of my office had to quarantine, they could still do the job and not have to basically have cancellations of court or resetting courts or doing those type of things. I mean, so this is more of a tool to make sure if we get to that point and something like that happened, it wouldn't stop things. It would continue things going.
I want to say that I'm going to make a motion for us to come back to work, everybody to come back to work by January the 3rd, but that for you to have a plan in place to present by our next meeting, and for anybody that needs to fix their offices to protect your employees to move, to get with Ruben and the judge and fix your offices for protecting your employees. That's what that money was for.
Was anybody else wanting to speak on?
Yeah. Any other
Guerra?
comments or anybody else that wants to say anything regarding their departments and their
But, and I
specific?
was gonna say something else, and I don't
situations?
mean completely rescind it completely. If you fall into a situation where you have to quarantine, then you go back to the telework policy until y'all are out of quarantine.
That's what the plan's gonna be about,
Okay, well, it just said rescind, so I didn't see any of the, so I was like, well, it's just rescind outright. That's where I see the danger, at least in my department.
Okay.
If I could,
Clarify the motion again.
Michael, you got any
Mr. Guerra.
questions?
yeah, I just want to echo Carlos's concerns. It happened to my office. Not all my employees are vaccinated. There's 7 of us. Currently, we're rotating 5 and keeping 2 at home, just to keep 2 safe. In case we have another positive, like we did back in August, we had to close down for 3 days because and luckily it came right around a weekend. So Carlos was able to help me. We're still using it. If we have to come back, that's fine. I do agree with Carlos that we need to come up with some kind of safety valve provision. If we do have a positive in the office, perhaps the department head could certify that to the county judge and the county auditor and allow those employees that have to stay home but aren't feeling any symptoms and can still work from home to be able to work from home if we fall into that situation. So between now and the next meeting, we could certainly work up some language to that effect so that there is a safety valve there in case we fall into the kind of situation Carlos is describing. I've got 7. He's probably got closer to 20 employees, and our office space is about the same. So you can figure, how tightly quartered they are compared to us. In my office, we have the ability to close off 3. And then there are 4 employees that are in a common area. So, and to some degree, you just don't have any control over that. Hopefully we don't have another positive. We don't have another situation. But if we do, hopefully we can come up with some language where the department head could certify that fact to the judge and the auditor. And the people that have to stay away until they find out that they're cleared can continue to work from home under those circumstances. Other than that, if you're asking us to come back in January, we can do it. We just, like I said, need to have some contingency provision in place in case we get into a situation on that end. And that, that's just because on our end, yes, we're under the governor, but we're also under the Texas Supreme Court. And their most recent order says don't come back till February 1st. So that applies to, the prosecutor's office, the judicial support staff, the clerk's office, probation offices. So I think it would be a good idea to come up with some kind of language like that between now and the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Guerra.
just wanted to
No,
speak, I believe that it is time for us to come back with staff. I think that there has to be a provision for the judicial system.
Yes.
Because in case we come across this, so that it can continue. As to last time that we came back, people started getting sick and they no longer had time, like what had been said before. We brought it to Commissioner's Court and we extended that to where we were able to tell people, you can stay home. The Commissioner's Court voted for this. This ends in December, okay? So if we get people sick after that, I don't know, we need to come back and extend that. Or like Michael says, we need to have something in place because we're not gonna have that policy in place at the end of the year. As to somebody being quarantined and saying, well, they're on quarantine, they get, like we were given 2 weeks or, 10 days that you could have if you were sick through the end of the year, but that expires at the end of the year.
And of course, now we have rapid testing, so
That's
somebody
fine. I just wanted to
after
make sure
3 days can get tested, and if they're negative, they can come back to work. They don't have to stay out. But I do think that if we make them stay home, say they were in contact with the judge and he was positive, and I have to stay home for 3 days till I get tested, I think that person should get paid.
Well, we have that policy right now because you can't just say, pay them because so many can just say that, you understand? So, that is a policy that we brought back because of that, but it ends at the end of the year. I do believe we need to come back. I think it's time, but a special, provisions have to
So
be
they'll
done.
have a plan, a plan for the next commissioners court. And Michael, can you also do wording to that if somebody has to stay home for quarantine for probably only 3 or 4 days, right? Because then we can test them. After so many days, you can get rapid tested, then they can come back to work. But if they have to stay home, they should get paid.
Under that situation, right? So the general rule is going to be everybody comes back in January. If you have a positive employee in your office, then the department head would have to send a letter or a memo. And the reason I said, of course, the county judge is the head of the county, and then the auditor, because they would need to know for payroll purposes which employees are working from home because they were in close proximity to the person who tested positive. And as far as the timing, I'm not real up on. I mean, I know you can do a rapid test. Sometimes you can do it too quickly and have a false negative because the exposure hasn't had time to incubate. I don't know what the rule is on that, but we can look it up or ask somebody that with more medical knowledge than us what the rule of thumb should be. But yeah, I mean that I think that would work.
Could we extend the policy that we have right now, Michael? So it'd be more of on a.
That's.
As I recall, it was, I think when we reinstated it, it was through the end of December. So what are you suggesting?
If that could be extended once, as long as Commissioner Court votes for everybody to come back, just to have that in play, because I know as soon as somebody gets sick, that's the first thing that's gonna come up is payroll. And just so we have some guidelines on that and not just,
I think coming up with a plan covers everything we're talking about.
But anyway, we could probably,
Coming up with a plan that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about, what Margie's talking about. We'll have a plan in place in 2 weeks, to address this problem.
Right. I think Mr. Guerra and Mr. Garcia come up with some language and some policy that we can adopt that's gonna consider the compensation, the days off.
Yes, because the way
Circumstances, case by case,
yeah,
and every other issue that you brought up,
okay.
just line
Yeah.
it up. That way, it's all in one document that we can adopt that will address the days off, compensation, payroll.
Right,
What
and-
those days are of quarantine, what's gonna be allowed, what's gonna be accepted, the exceptions.
Yeah.
I think we went over everything already, huh?
No, well, I'll get with Michael and we'll
Okay.
work on it, because
That
one of the things
document-
is if they can work remotely, it's that they're working. I mean, it's
Oh,
not a
there's no
day
question
off. I
about
mean,
whether it's getting
now,
done.
if I have somebody who their job cannot be done remotely, well, I'm not going to certify that to you that
Right.
they need
That's
to work
understood.
because they can't do their particular job remotely.
That's understood. Okay. Commissioners,
so I made a motion.
you're gonna rescind your motion?
No, I said we would have a plan on the next
Okay.
commissioners
So that's
court.
your motion then
And then
to,
January 3rd.
Well, without how can you place a date without knowing the plan?
right,
That's so.
so
We'll
basically,
have something by in 2 weeks that will work for everybody.
so at this time,
Judge,
we're not gonna rescind this telework policy, correct? Until we get that language and to adopt it in the next, with those,
hello, Judge,
yes,
it's me, Souza.
yes, sir.
On the Texas Department of State Health Services, it gives us guidelines on return to work.
Right.
And it tells you, like if Michael Guerra or Mr. Garcia want to get on there, check it out. It gives you the guidelines for returning back to work.
Okay.
Where, I mean, like if you feel sick, of course, stay home. But, you know, if you've been exposed to someone and you don't feel sick, I mean, it gives you all these guidelines in there.
Right.
You know, maybe they want to look at that before, you know, to put it part of their plan.
Those are the recommendations, correct, from the Texas Department of Emergency Management?
Yes, sir. And they're getting recommendations from the CDC.
We can go by that guideline and then adopt our policy according to more or less what they recommend, but what we're actually gonna adopt here and accept. Okay.
Now, there's another thing that we need to consider is if somebody gets exposed at work, we'll pay for them to stay home. Or because somebody in the office and you have to quarantine. But if somebody's out at a concert or at a function and they get exposed, then they have to use their sick time because that's you know, everybody has to protect themselves.
If we have to
That's
go
a,
to the,
that's a good point, Margie, and that's why, you know, we need to, yeah, that's something, that's a very good point. I mean, if you got exposed because you're at work, that's one thing, but if you get exposed because you visited, you know, we got holidays coming up, there's gonna be a lot of people traveling and so forth.
contact tracing that we can also rely on that would also come into play with this policy that we would to confirm. Yeah, and that's a good point
I mean,
because we
because I
don't want
know
everybody to
during
take
the fair,
advantage or
no,
abuse.
hardly anybody was wearing masks.
No,
either.
and I agree. And I can see that happening in all of our offices. Somebody went out,
Yeah.
did something, but then they came back and they exposed all the rest. And the rest are like, hey, I was being safe. I wasn't going around.
Going
I
on
just came to
Christmas
work and my
vacations stuff like
coworker
that, you know, that's
is the
on you.
one who now I'm, you know, so yeah, I think those are all things we need to really look at, just to be fair to the employees. And it comes back to, well, it's your own fault. That's one thing. But if it's like, it's not my fault, I came in, you know, 8 to 5 like I was supposed
And you
to,
got
and because
exposed
I'm
by
next
somebody
to
in your
the,
office, well, then that's.
I think they can come up with a plan that works for everybody.
Okay.
And I
It
second-
also has on there, I apologize, but like plan, it's a plan, you know, for people that are fully vaccinated and for people that are not vaccinated at the workplace.
Which one do we use? Because we got both.
yeah.
Why don't you email it? Why don't you email that to us, Roy?
It's Mr. Guerra, it's on the Texas Department of State Health Services. It's a website. Just put DSHS and you can just get on it and it's everything's on there, the case counts, everything's updated daily. At 3 o'clock, they update it daily. I've sent all these emails out before on groups, you know, various times, same thing, you know.
Jimmy, a question for you. How is it affecting your office?
We basically, good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We basically went back to normal well over a month ago because we just couldn't continue doing with these kids where we were. We're seeing kids in person here at the office. We have parents coming in. We're going to the schools. We're doing curfew checks. The only thing that has changed with us is we're doing court through Zoom. Of course, when we do court through Zoom, the parents are still coming into the office. The juvenile would be at the detention center. We're going to the PD, the sheriff's department for any arrest. So we've basically gone back to normal. Now, I would like to get even more normal because I really want to start our drug court again for juveniles. And I don't want to do that through Zoom because I don't think it carries the same weight when you don't have the judge sitting right up there in front of you. But basically, we've gone back to normal well over a month ago. We're here our 40 hours, 5 days a week, because we had to, because we just weren't able to supervise these kids, you know, over the phone. It just doesn't work. And we take the precautions we can. You know, we offer masks up front. Of course, if they tell us they don't want to put one on, but I would say 99.9% they do. The officers, I leave it up to them if they want to wear one. Everybody has their own individual offices, of course. The only time we're really around a lot of people is when kids and parents report. And of course, when we have court, you know, it's been hectic the last 2 or 3 months with kids. So sometimes we might have 3 or 4 or 5 kids having court in one day. Well, you're talking about probably at least 1, maybe 2 parents for each one of those kids too that come to the office. We try to keep part of them outside. We try to keep some in the lobby and just kind of do one at a time. But overall, we've gone back to normal here because that's just, I feel like that's what we had to do. And like I said, the officers that are assigned to school districts, they're going to the schools once a week to see the kids there. And we're also doing our curfew checks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We just need to go on with, and create a plan, Carlos, and introduce it on the next meeting. Because we really need to go back, I mean, there's no question about it. We need to go back. And we can produce a plan that will work, for everybody.
Yes,
I mean, especially for the court, I mean, because, yes.
no,
we don't-
we will. Michael and I will get together on that. And like I said, I don't think anybody in even the judicial departments wants to go back to where we were or wants to stay stuck to where we're at. I mean, we do want things to get better, and things are getting better. I mean, hopefully number 45 is the last extension that we get from the Supreme Court, but we don't know, and we won't know till about a week before this one expires.
That could be part of your plan.
Made a motion. and Ventura
If
seconded.
I may, and I was hoping we could have done something to it. We could have gotten everybody back. I understand your concerns, Mr. Garcia and Michael Guerra. But I believe there's some offices, like for instance, Noe, that, you said you're ready to come back. I wish something would have been, a motion would have been done to where we could have brought those people back and understand, because they're under the Supreme Court. So with that being said, let that plan come in, but everybody else that is not judicial, come on in.
Okay, let me just make one more comment.
I as a commissioner, we've never really, we quarantined some people were positive, they were out. We've spread our groups up, the Fremont area one way, Bimbo the other way. But with all the respect, I know Sheriff's Department came back a long time ago, and for the most offices, but I understand the issue on the judicial part. You guys deal with so much in the jury area and the courts and stuff like that. I understand also, I believe a district judge is coming in also. But with that plan, but anybody else that's not involved within the judicial, I wish we could have said, come on in already. I think we're ready to come back to work physically.
Well, you can go ahead and rescind the policy effective January, whatever, and we'll come up with a language before the next meeting. Now, what I'm hearing from you though, Commissioner Gonzalez, is do you want this safety valve language to just be for judicial offices or for all county offices? Because you might have an outbreak in the, I don't know, let's pick.
For the most part, Mr. Guerra, I believe everybody's already back. And not everybody can work Zoom like you were saying, Mr. Garcia. So if you're not able to do, like there's some offices downstairs that don't require Zoom. They can't do the Zoom. They've been here and I respect that. And so if you're able to come on in, bring them in. A judicial is a little different for you guys because you guys are holding court. I understand that and I respect that. So if we can come up for the plan, but if you're not a judicial part, bring them in.
Well, that's my question. If you're going to rescind, do a blanket rescission of the policy effective whatever the first Monday is actually, I think the first Monday is a holiday, so it might be the first Tuesday of January. Carlos and I can get together and come up with some kind of procedure if we have a positive case in a particular office.
Immediate. That's what I was hoping.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard Margie say something about first Monday in January.
Starting, what's the day? Monday, starting today. I mean, bring them back. And because I understand there is a lot of people, and I've talked to Mr. Gomez, and he doesn't have an issue bringing these people back, but it's an order we put to the court. So I think
I get that. That's not my question. My question is, it sounds like I'm getting a directive here to talk to Carlos and work out some kind of safety plan. Does that, a safety valve where if a particular office has a person who tests positive and some other people could have possibly been exposed, that they can continue to work from home if they don't have any symptoms. My question is, do you want us to put a provision in there that limits that to judicial offices only, or to all county offices?
No, all county.
to all county offices, but it's like, I'll agree with
county
Margie said earlier, if you brought that from somewhere else that you didn't pick it up here, then it won't count.
Well, but that's to the person that tests positive. You can't, I don't think it would be fair to punish the coworkers that didn't, you know what I mean?
That came positive because they got exposed somewhere else.
And then you get in the situation where you don't know where they got exposed. Did they get exposed?
And they have to quarantine. We need to pay those that have to quarantine.
All of
because they
that,
got
all
it
of
at
that will
work.
be in the languages, Mr. Garcia and Mr. Guerra.
But he
We've already
needs to
discussed
clarify that.
all of those concerns, whether department by department, overall, the county as a whole, not just judicial, but it could apply to all departments, the auditor, district clerk, county clerk, all the other departments, that if there's potentially an outbreak or a sickness, that they're eligible to automatically kick into that policy.
If they were exposed
Yes.
in the office.
And that will,
Or in the courthouse or whatever.
that will specify and clarify whether if contact tracing is necessary, whether they got it at a bar, at a concert, or as opposed to here, where it's unknown where the carrier or the infection occurred. All those details will be in the policy, and I'm certain that Mr. Garcia and Mr. Guerra can come up with that language by the next meeting, okay? And that'll include all the concerns I think that everybody has. And it'll apply to all departments in case there's an outbreak or some kind of sickness, because we don't know. And let's just keep that. I think the Texas Department of Emergency Management and those other agencies, they're recommending that this become part of the everyday norm, because that's gonna be the norm. The next outbreak, who knows, or where the next variant. So we need to keep that in mind. That's just the best policy I think that we should just follow.
And so I guess really, Michael, the policy about paying them sick leave should go through December of next year, because
It'll be in
it's something that's here, it's not gonna go away.
okay. So at this point, I move that we,
We made a motion and second a motion.
okay, what was the
Wait, wait.
motion again?
What was the motion?
Let's clarify the motion,
I made a motion
okay?
that we come back on, January 3rd, so that we could do the policy and all that, but then they made a motion that
On the
they
next
come in
meeting, right, Margie?
immediately.
So your motion, you want to rescind that motion to clarify it?
Well,
Where is
he
it?
seconded also.
Okay, so we have a motion. But
I'd
it
like to
did,
make a
To
motion.
come back on the, actually, it's
Okay.
on the 24th. That's our next meeting, right? It'd be next week.
No, I think we did. I saw something about the 27th.
motion? Okay, we have a second, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye on the motion that was placed on the floor.
Aye.
Okay,
Do we have an aye?
so
We
did
vote
you
aye.
get that, Carlos, that you will bring a plan on the next meeting?
Yes, and Michael and I will work together on coming up with some language and
Okay, good, good.
It's not gonna be on the 24th, because we'll
No,
be
well,
off.
well, that's why I'm saying on the next meeting.
Okay, all those in favor say aye on the motion that was put in the second.
Aye.
Aye.
We have two ayes. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and
Nay.
I vote aye to, on Miss Margie's motion. So the tie goes to Margie's motion. So that agenda item passes, which is,
So our next court date will be on the 21st or the 20th?
I thought it was the 27th.
Oh, we're doing on the 27th. Oh,
After the
okay,
holiday, yeah.
after.
okay, so this motion passes. This agenda item, it's not necessarily clear here exactly what,
So what's the effective date of the rescission
Well, I had made a motion for the 3rd,
of January?
so that we could go ahead and do the policy and everything.
Okay.
and we'll have that policy in place by then, by the next meeting, some type of wording, some kind of policy that we can adopt. Okay,
And just for the record, Judge,
yeah.
I'm voting against the date. I wanted it immediately. I'm not voting for the plan. Bring the plan in and I'll agree with the plan. That's fine. But I'm voting as to the date. I want it as of now.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
But it
and
doesn't
that's
give
what we
us,
vote.
if we vote for now, it doesn't give us time to put the policy together, and if something happens tomorrow or the
You can
weekend.
rescind his vote.
What's that?
You can vote no.
No. I just want for the record, just to show that that's why I'm voting against it, because of the,
two noes.
I had wanted to be immediately come in.
So we're gonna move
But the plan is,
the meeting of the 24th to the 27th, Judge.
That
Are we
sounds like
making
a,
that decision today?
I thought we were already told that.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Meeting of the,
Technically, I think we had already agreed on dates for
Yeah,
our next
well,
Commissioners
well,
Court
the-
meeting.
The regular meeting of the Commissioners Court is on the fourth,
Right,
No, that's
on the
fine.
fourth Friday. That's the 24th.
but if we can move
We're
it,
gonna move it to the 27th.
do we have to? I mean,
Whatever you. I
Can
mean,
we do
it's
it the
your-
21st?
We can certainly
Before
come,
we go off?
you know, we can come back with
not
this
gonna be here
plan
23rd.
by next week. It's a
I'm not gonna
24th.
be here the 23rd.
No, the 21st.
Oh, I'm sorry. They
so
said third.
Commissioners, I'm okay with either date.
Would y'all rather do it on the 21st before we
I don't
go
have no
off or
preference.
after?
I don't have no preference.
What do you mean, the 24th is the next meeting?
21st. If we do it before, Tuesday
Oh, okay.
before.
Okay, we can, well.
Or do you wanna wait
Okay,
till
so
the
you, no,
27th?
what I'm saying is, we can keep it on the 27th, but, you know,
As far as I'm concerned, I guess we can keep it on that date.
On the
Yeah.
27th?
so I just wanna know for my records, you know, we'll do it on the
We need to know,
27th,
because
Judge?
we need to do the payables, and we need to write the checks and do all of
Yeah.
that ahead of time for Commissioners Court.
So the 27th works for you, no?
I thought I had heard for, the judge's office is at the 27th already.
Okay.
That's what I understood.
I don't think we
Y'all
came
can
up
do
with,
Whatever y'all want.
yeah,
Hadn't heard
Yeah,
of
the
it.
27th, fine with me. if you
we didn't
want.
come up with any, like I said, there was no real reason to, I don't know why it was not scheduled for the regular.
Y'all wanna do it that day? That's
Because,
fine.
yeah, because it falls on Christmas Eve. And so what we did on Thanksgiving
Christmas Eve.
was move it to the following Monday.
So, the 27th, it'll be the 27th.
Okay.
27th.
Yeah, I mean, it's already there. We're not taking any action on this anyway, are we? No, it's already set for that meeting. Okay, so we passed the agenda item number 13, discuss, consider, and take action to consider approving the nomination of leadership members to the Loss Control Committee for the year 2022 and 2023. All right, who do we have nominees? Robert, I know I saw the,
Yeah, Judge, Commissioner, basically, I know some of the time we have a loss control meeting.
yes, sir.
We get together with a member of the leading chair member, the other member, with each department, and the safety officer, we get together. We go over the safety issue and the guidelines that we need to go over, like the fire drill, the gun safety, other thing. And every time we have to present it to you and address the concern or make changes to the policy, things like that. So we basically do that 4 times a year, meaning 4 times a year. So I am asking you to recognize the new member of the Law Control Committee leadership on that.
Yes, sir. That was a good meeting you had. Do you have the nominations or the people?
Yeah, we made a nomination
So you have
and we had
everybody
elected
nominated
Margarito Perez, the chairperson,
Got it.
and Ruben Cadera, and the co-chairperson, and Eric Gonzalez for the secretary.
That was a good meeting you had the other day, so that was.
And Mr.
Pretty much
Sosa
the
for
same.
safety officer.
And the safety officer would be Roy Sosa.
Oh, Ed Sosa, okay. All right,
I'd like to make a motion to accept this item as presented.
all righty. I have a motion on the floor to accept these recommendations.
I second the motion.
And the second, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.
We'll sign it.
Yeah, we'll get it signed right there. Thank you. Thank you to the committee. They had a good meeting the other day. Let's see here. Okay, so agenda item number 14, discuss, consider, and take action to engage the firm of Juan S. Pimental, PES CFM, JAP Engineering Firm 2, TBPEF 19056 to provide engineering services on TPWP project RT 015012, Ecolote Trails Improvement Project. Total engineering fees for all 3 phases of the projects of $16,600, phase 1, $7,500, phase 2, $5,900, phase 3, $3,200. Discuss, okay.
So
Wow, how did it go on?
I submitted this to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, because when we received the grant, it said, it was 68,000, but up to 200,000. And so they told me to go ahead and use the engineer and move forward. So it's up to y'all to,
How much is the grant from it?
initially it's 68, but if I can show, like the costs, that's more than that, it covers up to 200,000.
Okay, because this engineering firm total
Yeah.
is 33,000, no?
But we're just doing, we're gonna start with phase 1. Where's my paper? Let me see. Because we do need to go out for I had contacted them because initially you
This is the one we tabled the other day, right?
right, yeah. So I went ahead and sent it to the Texas Parks and Wildlife to see if we could, I had gone out for 3 bids, but not closed bids, and they said that was fine. But when we go out for construction, we need to do advertise and the closed bid and open hearing, commissioners court and all that. But because of the time that we've taken, because of the engineering, they said for us to just go ahead, that we could just go ahead and use that engineering, and I guess they're gonna cover the cost.
So the grant covers up to 200,000, nothing from the county?
We had a 20%, but we're doing in-kind.
Okay.
But recently, I'm sure y'all received a letter that that TxDOT put out for this economically disadvantaged counties. So whenever you have a match, we get a 68% discount because of our economical disadvantage
yeah.
status, yes. So it's less that we have to do.
Yes, sir. That's a good.
You wanna make a motion?
Well, can I make a motion that we move forward with it?
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. There we go.
Thank you.
That'll be nice. Up there, we need to do it all over.
Groundbreaking.
Okay, agenda item number 15, discuss, consider, and take action on payroll and bills as submitted by county auditor with the exception of Fund 52, 53, and 54. Consider payroll and bills submitted by county auditor with the exception of Fund 52, 53, and 54.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. Any other comments or anything before we, commissioners? I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.